December 21st, 2023, and you know why you're here, so let's kick things off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarasar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, I'm Big Moran, and I'm a roleplay PvPer.
Hey guys, I'm Truesap Jake, and I've lost my MMR, and I'm wondering if you guys know where it's gone.
Ooh. Hey, what happened to your MMR, Jake?
I don't know, man. I've been queuing the shuffle, and I think some other guys have stolen it.
Oh my goodness. Even after the inflation.
You keep going 4-2 and get nothing.
Are you a healer?
No, I'm not actually. I'm only joking. I actually genuinely, it's I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Shuffle in the last kind of couple of weeks, and it's not been my friend.
Yeah, I think that's everybody, to be honest.
Yeah, I think no one is enjoying it at the minute. So hopefully, like in the next couple of weeks, we'll see some kind of big change, which I'm really excited for.
We'll see. I mean, I want to keep my hopes up, but today we're joined by Brutal Gladiator Jahmilli, a longtime rank 1 mage who you might know from Twitch or different PvP tournaments over the years. But maybe Josh should introduce himself. So, Josh, why don't you tell the audience who might not know you a little bit about yourself?
Hey, everybody. My name's Jahmilli. I played WoW pretty much the entire time it's existed, primarily PvP. I've had rank 1 pretty much every season that I've played. Multiple classes. 15-time tournament champion. Went to BlizzCon multiple times. Finished top 3. Yeah.
Just a few things. Just a few.
Yeah, just a few things on that resume. But
I could keep going. Honestly, I'm trying to keep it like short.
He's just humble, guys. He's really humble.
Yeah.
No.
To be at my level, you have to be humble behind the scenes.
So one of the things I actually wanted to ask you about, and I wrote it down on the show notes, is that I think you've always been really good at spotting new talent in WoW. So, back in Kata, that might have been like Sam X or Mop. Maybe it was Peekaboo. And then I think it was in BFA you started playing with Nick. And like those were 3 really good rogues. And I'm just curious, like, what drew you to like these specific players, and who do you think is maybe the next big upcoming WoW player?
I think I just pay attention and I like watch everyone I'm up against. Like, if I'm up against a good player and they're doing a number of good things, like I'm going to notice it and then it's going to stick with me for a while. So, or if I'm just watching them. I also just like bringing on new players and just having as many good players as possible. Like, the more good players there are, just the better the game is going to be overall. So I also noticed, like, when I was coming up, for the longest time, I knew I was so good, and because I was either so annoying or, like, the better players or the more popular players, whatever you want to call them, they didn't necessarily like want to give newer people credit, like the younger generation, and they were very cliquey. So they would only play with their friends or like within their group, which I thought was really stupid and annoying. And I just remember how frustrating it was coming up when you're really good, but people didn't give you a chance. So yeah, I'm always gonna give everyone a chance, even the most annoying people. So
who do you think are the big up and comers right now, if you had to name a few?
There's so many good players right now. I mean, like, that are really underrated and not talked about. Obviously, I still think Nick is not talked about and given enough credit. He's given credit by the players that play Arena all the time, but not necessarily like the viewers or the people that aren't at the highest level. That entire team is insane. Like Nick, Calvish, Kearney's really good. Tuna also. Even Drake's team, like Drake, Ceralium, like all those players, even though everyone knows they've won a bunch, like they're still super underrated. I don't know, Axon is insane. There's so many good players that just aren't getting as much attention because of where WoW is.
Oh yeah. We were talking about that on our Discord just recently about how just WoW esports seems so underrated to what it could be, but it seems to be still stuck in this like grassroots organic. The advertising only seems to be within the Blizzard platforms itself. I don't remember seeing it really outside of that. So I just feel like there's so much more that could be done, but it seems like the effort just isn't put into that, which is unfortunate.
It's either the
Yeah.
effort or they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how to fix it, or they don't want to ask for help, which is a lot of people's issues with a number of different things in life. Is like asking for help is really difficult for them
Well,
because there's so many good players. Sorry,
no, keep going, keep going.
There's like so many good players that all agree in the same exact things. Like everyone has their own biases, obviously, but majority of the top players agree on the core issues. And if they were to just reach out to them, like, or even listen a bit more, obviously they are listening somewhat because the last patch for the most part was pretty decent, and then a few others. But all of the main issues are very obvious.
I think MMR was like clearly an issue for the past few weeks of this season. Yeah,
MMR was fine. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it sucks that you need to have these like really pumped up reward systems for people to play WoW. I wish people would just play without caring, but that's never going to happen. You know, people need to be able to achieve their rewards, and if they can't, they just won't play. But yeah, I think there's like clearly some things that everyone can agree with.
I think it's like that for majority of games, though. Like, think of every competitive game. Like, even if you're playing CS:GO, if you're playing League, if you're not going up in rank, I don't think a lot of people would be playing nearly as much.
Yeah.
So here's one for you. So my stepdaughter just started playing Fortnite because her boyfriend plays Fortnite, and so she wants to play with him. So now my wife got caught into playing Fortnite, to the point now that my wife is actually playing ranked Fortnite for the skins, nothing else. Because when she found out that once you start into ranked, you start winning skins. So for no reason whatsoever, my wife has now turned into a first-person battle royale game player for skins.
Oh yeah, I would do everything for cosmetics. I would buy all the cosmetics. I would literally spam queue up. If they had sick cosmetics, I would buy all the cosmetics that are good, and I would also just spam queue and try to get higher rated for cosmetics. So. I mean, yeah, they could also do that for the rating thing, but it all starts with, in my opinion, everything starts with the gameplay, especially nowadays because everyone streams all the time, and people will just follow whatever their favorite streamer says. So, like, if the streamer is having fun, enjoying themselves, and it's fun to watch, then like WoW is just gonna do extremely well. Retail, that is.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And I had to laugh because of the number of times I've heard people repeat what they heard some of their favorite streamers say on stream, and albeit sometimes get it wrong. Like they'll hear what they think they heard, and then just keep speed, and then that's how you end up having wrong stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like people tell, like a bunch of people saying enhancement is poop in PvP. When, yeah. Anyways, all right. Speaking of, go ahead.
If every streamer just pretended retail was amazing, all of the people that watch streams and play WoW would agree with them. Like, not all of them, but like 90%, a huge portion. If every time I went into a fucking game, or Sea-Doo or Peekaboo or whoever, and they were like, "Oh my god, no!" Like everyone would go crazy, and then they would just be like, "I need to play this shit, this stuff, man." Like everyone would love playing.
Yeah, we just need people to stop watching Asmund.
Is he? I heard he hates retail or something, but I haven't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Apparently, he doesn't like classic either. It's I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah,
what does he like?
Anime girls?
E-girls, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Speaking of liking things and not liking things, why don't we get into the need, greed, and pass, and then start hitting the rest of the segments, and then we can scratch into Jahmilli's brain and really find out what mages tick. Or actually, yes, what makes them tick. But first, need, greed, and pass.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right, need, greed, and pass. On to you, Big. This is your week to present your scenario with 3 options, and we'll see what everybody decides to pick on. Go for it.
Yeah, so as the name suggests, I'm going to give you a scenario, and you're going to have to choose between one of 3 options. One of them you're going to need. That's the one you're going to, obviously like the most. Greed is your second pick, and pass is the one you're going to pass on. So There have been some people claiming that Frost Mage has too many damage buttons, and maybe a rework is needed to make the spec feel a bit more streamlined. If that happened, if there was a rework and you could only pick one of these bursting abilities, what would you need? Which one would you greed, and which one would you pass? So the options are Frost Bomb, Ray of Frost, and Glacial Spike. So we're gonna need one, we're gonna greed one, we're gonna pass on one. So I guess Jahmilli, which one of those abilities do you like the most?
100% Frostbomb. 1,000,000%. Frostbomb's a really
Yep.
cool ability, and it's not like any other ability. So
And do you like its current design where, I mean, it's kind of like it was in the past, right? Where it just explodes after a while. You can dispel it preemptively, but you
So-
can't explode it yourself.
yeah, Frostmage needs something to penalize healers from spam dispelling their Frostbomb. Like they need some type of DPS, or sheeps need to be more devastating or something. Because I'll literally queue into the like really good healers, and they won't dispel my sheeps anymore. They'll only dispel Frostbomb. So you have to. There has to be more penalties for dispelling Frostbomb off CD. Like people don't even care about sitting a fucking sheep anymore. Sorry, darn it. People don't care about sitting a sheep anymore because if you just dispel the Frostbomb, the mage isn't going to do much damage.
And so, what would be your second option between Ray and Glacial?
With the current state of the game, it would have to be Ray, because
Okay.
you can't consistently get glacials off. So
That's too bad. Glacial's
love
my
Glacial.
favorite. Glacial's my favorite. When you get that off, it just feels good.
yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of like Chaos Bolt too. It's not like super. I feel like it's not as unique. Also,
Yeah.
it's just one long pass for a giant amount of damage.
So Garrison, which one do you like the most out of those three abilities?
Sorry, I kind of let the cat out of the bag there. I was going to go for Glacial Spike as my favorite. Yeah, it's a long cast, but when you get it off and just watch that big number hit, like you really feel like you're just giving it to the player. You know what I mean? Like it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, it feels good and it looks cool.
It does. It does. Yeah, I think Glacial Spike is my favorite. I get it. Like, but as far as like a bursting ability, like it is a true burst. Just like you said, Chaos Bolt, same thing. I feel like Chaos Bolt's easier to get off though, versus Glacial Spike's a bit harder.
Yeah, it is.
Second one, I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. I like Ray. It feels a little bit like Lasso though. Other than it doesn't have the
Lasso?
stun. Yeah.
Well, Lasso doesn't do damage. It doesn't do like good amount of damage.
Okay. I thought it used to. I thought it used to do like 25% of the player's health.
Yeah, BFA
It used to do a lot.
Yeah,
Oh,
BFA
of
was
course they
cracked.
nerfed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that case, I guess yeah. I guess in that case, Ray of Frost is my next. Frostbomb, I don't know. It feels okay. Like yeah, it's damage, right? But it's like a fire and forget and hope that somebody doesn't dispel it.
Well, it's cool because you can synchronize it with like other damage abilities too.
Fair, but then it's not like
So it
it's
all
not
hits
on
at
its
the same
own a
time.
big burst. You're doing other things on top of it to burst, right?
It is a lot of damage. It's the most damage. Like
Yeah, it's
Frost
like
Mage is gonna be able to do.
400k, I think.
Yeah, it's
Really?
insane.
Oh my god. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm gonna be a mage player now. I'm giving up my
Give up your
No,
warlock
but-
ways.
I'm giving up my
dispel it.
warlock ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How
I feel
about
I feel like you might be shortchanging yourself a little bit there, Garrison.
maybe? How about you there, Jake? What about
Oh well, I've played with a Frost Mage for a number of seasons, and I think it's a really hard choice. I think for the simple fact of just being able to get damage out, I would have to need on the Frost Bomb, especially as I have a friend. My friend plays full mastery, and that stuff is kind of cracked sometimes. We've played some really interesting. Some interesting builds for that, which I think has been really fun. I think Glacier, as you say, like it's like a much worse Chaos Bolt, so it's very easy to like kick and to deal with it. So I'm probably going to greed that, and I think Ray's interesting, but I don't like the kind of the gameplay of it, the way you build it. I've never enjoyed that Ray Frost build to play with, so I think I'm probably going to pass on Ray. Those are my three choices.
I think this might be the first time we all had different answers because I'm actually going to need on Ray of Frost. I think it's a really fun ability when it works. It's pretty flexible. Like you can use it to kill people who are running line of sight. You can blink with it. It's really fun to press when people don't react to it, which I guess is maybe every ability in WoW. So I liked it. It can be really impactful, which I like. I'm gonna greed on Frostbomb. I think it is like really fun. I think the combination of those two abilities is pretty fun. Like you can flurry, Frostbomb, Ray of Frost, and that's like 100% of someone's HP if all of that works. And then I'm gonna pass on Glacial just because it feels really clunky. I don't know what it is. Something about it just feels like maybe it's the cast time is just slightly too long or something. And if it was maybe a bit quicker, it might be more fun to press. But it feels too laggy for some reason. So I'm gonna pass on Glacial because not as fun as the other two.
Yeah, it's like what Jar said. Like it becomes like a chaos bot if you kind of reduce the time of it. It's not got that uniqueness that some of the other abilities have, which is a shame. Because I think it's really cool. It's a cool idea.
The majority of cases, unless you're playing like really specific, powerful comps, a lot of people can easily deal with Glacial, whether it be a cooldown or just like healing output or interrupt, whatever it is. So yeah, Glacial is definitely really awkward a lot of times, but it's also because you don't have like other threatening abilities you can use right now, and your DPS is low, especially if people are just filling Frostbomb. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's almost like would it be okay then if you played like Warlock and Mage, and then that way with the UA you would have the Dispel protection?
yeah, you'd have to play Warlock, Mage, Druid. Paladin is okay, but mainly Druid, I'd say.
Well, isn't that the
But
go-to?
Mage Druid, anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Rest Druid as of right now is just so powerful, so much better than every healer, and then it also just encourages, especially in threes, like it encourages a very specific kind of play style that isn't like super engaging. I feel like, so I'd rather like other healers be stronger, and then Druid have to contribute more to actually winning a game rather than just doing more healing than every other class by far. So
yeah, I liked it when Druids are engaged in the fight, like when they're running in, doing the bashes, getting off the clones, doing that aggressive play style.
Yeah, like just, the most fun version of MLD is like 3v1ing and CCing everyone, rather than like sitting back and then just being immortal and out healing and out damaging everyone.
Yeah,
which is
fair enough.
Is happening right now.
Yeah. Apparently OBS isn't liking my network. Keeps dropping.
Yeah, it's a bit laggy.
Yeah. Like I keep losing connection. It's reconnecting and then disconnecting. That's what I get.
Doing on, This is doing on Discord as well, because I know Discord was having issues.
No,
yesterday.
It's everything else is looking fine. It's just the OBS keeps disconnecting. So
we're back, I think.
Yeah, we are back. That's okay. Well, here, since we're back, let's move into the upcoming WoW PvP events, and then we'll get into the other fun stuff. There we go.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Indeed. So, upcoming PvP events, we mentioned it before. Big Donny Cal was going to do a 1v1 dueling tournament. Should have happened.
Fuck.
No worries.
Oh, wait.
Should have happened.
Am I coughing on this?
Yeah,
you guys hear me cough?
I can hear you cough.
I'm muting the thing. I thought, oh my god.
Because you got Discord as well.
Oh, shoot. Darn it.
It's okay, buddy. It's all good. All right. So Big Donny Cal, we talked about him before. He was going to do a 1v1 dueling tournament back in December. That would have been last weekend. But he has delayed it until the 19th of January. Apparently just trying to get some more people to sign up. Seems like it. So anyways, so there you go. So currently it's going to be over in the EU. You can catch Big Donny Cal on Twitter, on X now. Current prize pool was 200,000 gold for that. Another tournament coming up is the Oasis Community Mythic Plus Key Push Tournament. So that's our good friends at Oasis. They're going to be doing a kind of like the Great Push. Start at level 7 keys, and then they will, pardon me, and then they'll push up to see who can get the highest keys over the weekend to win that one. So got a link to the Twitter on that. And then last but not least, obviously there are the Blizzard events that just got announced for 2024. So AWC Cup number 1 is starting on the 31st of January, with Cup number 2 on the 7th of February. The MDI, the time trials should be starting right about now, so you can start signing up to that with the group within, I believe it ends in January, and then the groups are going to be selected with the first group streaming on the 16th of February. And then onto that, and we should see the AWC mid-season clash happen on the 1st of March. I think the biggest thing here, so overall they're saying that it's a $2 million prize pool for 2024, which I want to say is the most money to date, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
It also looks like it's cross-region, but the AWC stuff is both NA and EU, like against each other. Looks like.
Is that going to be a LAN? Are there going to be LANs? Is that confirmed?
I don't know. I mean, that'd be nice, I guess. But
Because it's weird having EU and NA fight each other, right? If it's not a proper ping.
yeah, because I don't know. Some people also live in like Australia, right? And so they get destroyed by latency. But it looks like it's cross region. I haven't read. I'm sure there's like some notes with like some fine text where you can figure all this stuff out. But
I don't think they've officially said anything, but if that is the case, yeah, they need to figure out the ping issues. I think the major thing with the increase, or I suppose what looks like lesser money, is the fact that I saw a tweet from Adrian about this, is that they're doing more in it. So there's going to be like 4 tournaments as opposed to 3 or something, I think, if I read that correctly. So there is going to be more money overall, just split across more tournaments, which I think we all wanted anyway. We wanted more tournaments. So it is, I feel like that is a step in the right direction. And I think, as we were talking about earlier, Blizzard have fumbled with their esports, I think, early on when they could have really grown it. But I feel like they're making good steps at the minute to rectify this and actually bring in something that's kind of cool. Like there was so much hype from the last tournament from the AWC. I felt like, even though, I wasn't particularly maybe enjoying retail as much at that point, I still watched and I still really enjoyed it. So I think they're going in the right direction. It'll just be interesting to see how it goes going into this new World Soul Saga situation that we've got going on, and how that marries up with the PvE side of things.
yeah,
So that's what I'm worried about.
I'm curious, Jaw. You played in the recent solo shuffle tournament, right? The Void one.
Yeah.
Did you, from a player point of view, did you enjoy that like more or less than like a normal tournament?
It's weird. I think well, I look at majority of tournaments from like a viewer perspective almost, or just anything I do. Like if it's not enjoyable for me to watch, like if I wouldn't like watching it, then I wouldn't necessarily like competing in it as much. And I think when compared to the way retail has been, where majority of the teams that have been dominating are playing like kind of super defensive comps, excluding like Pico, WizK, Upsurge. It was way more fun to watch the solo shuffle tourney. Just because like people had to play a bunch of different weird comps, and it was kind of like, the player who played the best is essentially going to be able to win it, excluding like, unless your class is insane. Like obviously Sub Rogue was disgusting, it's really powerful, but at the same time it's like Calvish is still one of the better players in that tournament. So like even if every class was evenly balanced, like Calvish would still do really well, most likely. So
yeah, I felt the same way from a viewer. The solo shuffle tournament is so fun to watch compared to normal tournaments, and it felt like it was like way faster pace. Like the tournament got like you got to the next game like instantly. There's no delays, which is way better than like the 5-minute delays that sometimes happen, in between the games on AWC. But yeah, I think They should do is like Blizzard should do an official solo shuffle tournament or something. That would be like a cool LAN event to fly everyone and just play in a giant solo shuffle tournament for a few days.
Yeah,
Kind
that'd
of
be
like they
insane.
do the summit tournaments for like other
But
games, you know, where everyone goes to a house and just play solo shuffle.
yeah, yeah. The
That'd be
thing is
sick.
with the solo shuffle, sorry, is how there is no delays. It's kind of weird because like you could have an epic game and really cool moments happening in the game, and then instantly you're just on to the next one. Like there's not even there's no downtime at all. So I think if they did do that, it should be like at least like a minute in between games or something. Because there were a lot of cool moments in that tourney that like I would want to rewatch them or something instead of just instantly jumping to the next game. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you can go back and watch in the VOD and something, but it's like
Mhm.
if somebody does something cool and something major happens, then it's like, oh my god, like let's check that out. Versus, oh, we're instantly going to the next game, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then you have to wait until the end of all the rounds. It's like 50 minutes later. It's like, okay, let's go back to
yeah.
that first round where something really cool happened. It's like,
hmm
okay, so past that. I
And
can
then
see
this
that.
is coming from somebody who, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, it just has extreme ADHD. Like, I need something to be happening at all times. And
Mhm.
even I'm saying like, oh, we should have at least a 1 minute break or something in between rounds. But yeah,
Would it be fair to say, like, especially when you're talking that high level competition, where the first minute is a lot of set, like, there's a lot of stuff going on, but honestly, it's more like just getting through cooldowns and defenses until the real cool stuff happens. You could almost do like put it up into the corner screen, kind of like a picture in picture, and then you can kind of talk about something that just happened, and then pull back into that live play. Because I always find like the
mm,
first 30 seconds at least is, I mean, obviously there's some times where something really, really funky happens and somebody just flops and dies. But for the most part, I feel like that first little bit is just chewing through cooldowns and getting through those defensives.
yeah. Sometimes it honestly depends on the comp. Like the reason I thought the solo shuffle tourney was so good too is
Mhm.
because there wasn't a lot of Resto Druids, and I think
Yeah.
Resto Druid is by far the most powerful healer right now. And then it slows down the game quite a bit when you can just play defensive and position well defensively, and then just rely
Mhm.
on like being like heal. Like they just have way more HBS than every class. And
Yeah.
then, but in the solo shuffle tourney, like every healer had to play with just other random classes, so it's a lot more
Mhm.
fast paced. But I
True
think
that.
if
Also, I think the best part about the solo shuffle tournament is you could watch any perspective you wanted. That was
yeah,
like the coolest part.
Yeah.
Like you could just tab into Calvish's stream and watch him just like destroy people, you know. And
mm,
if you, it was fun. I like that. I think that's the thing. Like when you watch the AWC broadcast, it's like that third
Mhm.
perspective, or like that aerial perspective. It doesn't feel that cool sometimes. It's like
mhm.
hard to kind of tell what's going on. You can't really see people's mistakes that too well either. Like it's hard to track stuff that you would normally be able to track with like a player UI.
Yeah.
So I definitely like just watching a player perspective. It feels way better.
Can I add to that? Sorry.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the player's perspective is really nice, especially when you can hear comms. Like some of my favorite thing about like these random community tournaments that people do is they'll go on the call of the players, so you can hear the teams. Like every now and then, you can hear them like when they're in the arena.
Mhm.
I like that a lot. And then, what was I gonna say? Oh, I don't like how everyone's UI is so crazy nowadays too, though. Like, because I'm imagining if they did that on the live broadcast and they're just going from one stream to the next, and it's so confusing for like newer viewers or people that either want to get into PvP or want to get better, and then they just see this player with like every weak aura and just random sounds on their screen, and then
Mhm.
that would be just it wouldn't look good aesthetically. Like things have to look good aesthetically in order for them to exceed like viewing wise
Yeah,
or succeed.
I think that's where the arena spectator really shines through. And you can see, like, go to any Twitch channel for a PvP or doing arena, and
hmm
like some of them you can barely see what the gameplay is, because there's, like you said, it's Gladius, it's arena track, it's a team tracker, it's Omni, it's weak. Yeah, it's there's so much
Resources
information there. It's insane.
so ridiculous, man. I'd rather just be a worse player or like
I,
miss
I,
something than have all that stuff on my screen.
I'm convinced that weak auras makes players like worse. Unless
Well, no,
unless
it
you're
does, 100%.
I think weak auras is good if you're already a good player. If you're
Mhm.
if you already know what you're doing, add-ons are really helpful. But if you're just starting out, I think the worst thing you can do is like install a bunch of add-ons. I think
Uh,
I think you should learn the game, kind of the core of the game first,
Okay.
and then use add-ons to help.
I need to
Yeah,
admit something here. I need to admit
oh
something.
no.
So I went ahead and I went over to the um I went and got the weak aura pack from Skill Capped, and I installed it, and I went into a battleground, and there's a blast of a bunch of them that came up, and I actually didn't know what some of them were because I couldn't remember. Like,
Yeah.
what? I was too busy like staring at my screen trying to figure out what that icon was that I might be getting blasted by. But yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's
Yeah.
another reason. Sorry, good.
no, I was just going to say, like, I think that's probably, I've experienced this myself with going back to Wrath, is there was, having no idea at all about the game. When you go and step into PvP, you're like, oh my God, I've got so many weak auras. I had to like uninstall all the stuff that I was using and just kind of work my way back up again. Because if you have all that information, it just doesn't make any sense and it just doesn't work. You can't compute. I think that's I think as time has gone on, I feel like the skill ceiling has gone up because we have access to so much information. But then at the same time, it's kind of made people lazy. Like I can't play with Gladiator Losa or whatever. Like I feel like just listening to that would drive my brain into extinction.
Yeah.
Now people play with air horns. You know,
Yeah.
you hear horns. But I think that the reason why Peekaboo's stream is like so fun to watch is because he doesn't really use that many add-ons. It's just like
Yeah.
Omnivar and Gladius, and it's just you see the game. You're
Mhm.
not really paying attention to these lights or whatever like that are flashing. You're just paying attention to the actual gameplay, which is like fun.
People need to
Indeed.
start doing things and playing the game, especially streamers. Like they need to play it in a way where it looks good for people to watch and like want to play. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to. Okay, I think Mez is insane. Same for that whole team, like Team Liquid, for example. Like all of them are really good players, like some of the best players ever. But a lot of these players just have like every weak aura, every add-on, just all of these random noises on their screen. It's so confusing and it just looks so ridiculous. And it's just not. And there's plenty of people that aren't, super popular streamers also that have the same thing. So if it's not good to watch, then I feel like there's just no way that people are gonna want to play
Agreed.
or even watch the stream. Like if it just looks bad, then people aren't gonna want to watch.
I don't disagree. You know what I want to do though is I want to find out whether frost mages are good to play or not.
Oh yeah,
Good
Frost.
segue.
So let's get into subject analysis, and we'll see. Jah, you can tell us what's good and bad about frost mages.
I'm
Alright.
gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right, let's do this. So I think Big, you've been playing Mage for a while, so I think maybe you should lead into this.
Yeah, so when I was like thinking about what to talk about in this episode, Frostmage has kind of changed quite dramatically, like during every era of the WoW expansion. So I think like I'm gonna ignore like anything before Kata, but like from Kata to WoD, it felt like Frostmage was kind of pretty aggressive. I mean, you generally played Frost with like rogues, and you're kind of playing in your face, sort of like Fire Mages kind of played in like Shadowlands, doing big bursts with setups. Then I think in Legion, they kind of made Frost into this sort of wizardy spec where you kind of played max range, and this is the era of like Cloud9 playing MLD, and Frost was pretty much the same, I believe, in BFA as well. I didn't play that much BFA, but so now I think it's kind of a sort of a hybrid of both. I mean, it's still, I think, more wizardy than it is sort of like setup-y, but I guess, Jaw, like, how do you view the current iteration of Frostmage compared to the past?
Frostmage is so close to being really fun. But yeah, compared to the past, so they nerfed polymorph or just CC in general, so it's not nearly as valuable. And then they also just increased everyone's DPS a lot. So like you're not even able to consistently play offensive because it's just not even worth it at that point. Like you don't have enough DPS. The main good thing about Frostmage is like their slows. So you have to kite melee all the time. This is how it's been for years. Like a lot of times you just have to kite everyone and not position poorly, and then only CC when it's convenient. Unless you're playing very specific comps, like if I could play RMP, then I could CC a lot, and it's really satisfying. And then occasionally, like if I'm playing like an overpowered comp, and then the other people aren't playing that great of a comp, I can like run in CC and stuff. But it's typically just not worth it because they nerfed polymorph, and then other classes DPS is already so high. So
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Morrow a lot about Mage, and I mean, like one of the things he always tells me is just like blink backwards. That's
Yeah,
kind of how a
sad.
lot of mage play mages play, especially Fire.
Well,
Fire, I think, is the spec where you need to blink backwards the most, right? Because you're just so squishy.
yeah,
Frost
you
Frost
just do more
feels
damage.
somehow, yeah, Frost somehow feels like the mage where you can maybe play a bit more aggressive, but at the same time, it's like you're rewarded for not doing it. Like as you said, just kind of keeping people slowed is just passively good.
Yeah,
Uh, and
the
I
thing
have
is, sorry,
no, no,
you
you
can
go.
go.
You. Go ahead.
So the thing is too, like everyone's just playing Blink Stun nowadays, so it's just even more difficult to play offensive. I mean, I never play Blink Stun ever because I hate that. I don't know, I just hate it. It just makes Mage nowhere near as fun to play. You're almost just playing like another class that's not even Mage anymore. Like if you're not able to like bounce around everywhere and just like kind of take over a game, then I don't really want to play Mage. Like I like playing Mage because it's like every element of arena in one class. Like it's almost like a perfect balance. That's why Mage has always been so attractive. But yeah, if you're playing like Blink Stun and then just the way Mage, especially Frost, is designed right now, then your primary thing to worry about is just defense and slowing everybody. So
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like Arcane is kind of goofy now too. Like Arcane is like this, like dampener spec almost. It's weird. It just runs away. It's very ratty to play against an Arcane mage. They're just running away the
yeah,
entire time. It's like keeping you slow. They're not really doing that much damage, which is kind of the annoying part about Arcane mage. Like if they hit harder, it would be more tolerable. But the fact they're not really doing that much damage, it feels like, what is this player doing in my arena? They're just running around doing nothing.
yeah.
But at least like
And
yeah,
Blink Stun can't even stun them.
yeah. At least with Frost, it feels like you get these big like waves, where you can do like if you can do a lot in these like really small windows, like with Ray of Frost, Frost Bomb. But as you said, like people pl- try to like play around, like they're only playing around now. They're like shadow melding. They're saving shadow meld for Ray of Frost. Like that's the way.
Yep.
Like people they play in a way to shut everything down.
Because you can't penalize them for doing that. Like when you only have very specific win conditions, then people can get away with only saving their major cooldowns for them. Like if you're not able to CC people or do a lot of DPS, then people could just save your dispel for the frost bomb because they're not going to die any other way. They could save meld for Ray. They could just save whatever they want for your major cooldowns. The only time I find random openings nowadays on Mage is Ice Wall. Like that's the only time I can like make something like spontaneous happen or random. Like that's it. That's what do you call the thing where the wheel is spinning and then you just throw something in it? Like that's what disrupts everything is ice wall.
Yeah, it's Icewall is interesting because it's such a unique and like goofy ability. Like it's one of those things like when you play dodgeball and you do that like trick where you like throw a ball up in the air, like, hey, like look above, and then you just like throw the other ball at them.
Oh yeah.
That's how Icefall. It's like what the hell is this person doing? Like what is this
Yeah.
thing in my arena? How do I deal with it? Because it's not really a scripted thing you can deal with. It's just like this.
It's random.
It's this random wall this pillar that just pops up.
It forces people to not play like robots, which you can
Yeah.
kind of do against a lot of different classes depending on what you're playing.
I enjoy Ice Wall, especially in Battlegrounds, because it completely changes the gamescape. Like that will really screw up a team. It'll make or break whether that flag carrier or that team fight works or not.
Oh yeah. Speaking of battlegrounds, I mean, I've been saying this for years, even when the game was at its best. But the best form of competitive PvP, especially to watch as a viewer, it would be either like 8v8 or 6v6 battlegrounds, like the good battlegrounds. So, like, it would. Can we get into this, or do we want to stick on Frostmage?
Hey, go for it. Tangent
Okay.
away.
We love
new
tangents.
Blitz. The new Blitz is
Mhm.
insane. Like it's so good.
Right?
It's so good. It's really fun to play, and then it would also be the best thing to watch for a viewer.
Hmm.
Because one, there's objectives. You can clearly see what's going on. And then if you ever, there's also arena within these blitzes.
Yep.
So if there's like Arathi Basin, I said this earlier, like last week on my stream, like let's imagine, okay, I'll just use Peekaboo for example. He's defending mines or something, and then it's NA versus EU, right? So NA versus EU, there's like a 3v3 going on at Blacksmith. There's something going on at LM. So there's there's basically already two arenas. And then like Peekaboo's defending mines. Like, can you imagine if like Waz breaks off Blacksmith and you see it happen in real time, and he's like going to ninja mines, and then now like Peekaboo and Waz have to fight each other one on one, like just in the middle of this battleground.
Right?
Like that would be insane. And then it's also sick, like, because what is Pika's team gonna think? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is Pika gonna call for help? Like, are we gonna be worried? Is NA gonna be worried for Pika
Right.
to just get killed by Waz? Like,
Does that Surge leave Blacksmith and head over to help defend with Pika, or is he fine?
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, are you good, Pika? Like, Waz is coming to your base. Like, do you need help, little bro? Like, I don't know. That would just. And then the best part is too. Sorry, there's like a build up to it because you're watching as a spectator. Everyone's fighting at BS. All of a sudden, you see Waz like break off, and it's like, oh shit, where's Waz going?
Yeah.
And then you just see Pika at mines, and it's like, oh my god, like Waz is coming to mines. Like it's going to be a 1v1. Like this is going to determine.
Right.
This is going to determine the fate of the game. Like there's so many epic moments like that within a battleground.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's 8v8 or 6v6. Like there's literal arenas in the battleground. It's so easy to follow. If you want to switch it to arena, you just go look at a base and just see what happens. And then
Exactly.
even if somebody came to help the person, it's like, oh man, this guy was actually about to lose. I don't know.
I think
That
the
would just
thing
be
that's
so epic.
that's also fun about BGs, like RBGs, and I guess the BG Blitz, is the outplays are way cooler than the outplays you see in arena. Like,
Yeah. What's easy to
like,
follow too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like thinking back to what Garrison was saying about the wall of ice, what is it called?
Yeah, ice wall.
Ice wall. Like using ice wall to do like an outplay in a BG is insane. Like it's like if when it works, it's like that's
Totally.
like you just block the flag carrier from the tunnel. Like that's badass, you know? Or like, you know, you knock someone off you grip, stun, knocked or something. That looks so cool compared to like some of the things you can do in arena, just because there's like this terrain, you know, you have to care about there's like this extra like element that you don't really have in normal arena. So yeah,
The
I
skill
think
cap is higher too.
yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know
there's
about RBGs. Actually, in RBGs, yes, but it
yeah,
would be the smaller player ones. Sorry.
yeah, there's a lot of these like micro decisions you can make that have huge impact, like ninjaing a base, you know? It's like this one, all it takes is like a well-timed blind or something. You know, you have to just make this one little play and then just swings the game in your like favor, which is like really cool compared to arena.
The thing is with that is so if you have like an insane rogue, let's say he's 10 out of 10 skill, right? And then you have like a 4 out of 10 rogue skill. If they come in, this is why I don't like RBGs, this is why I like Blitz. If the 4 out of 10 rogue comes in and he does one tiny thing different, and then it all comes down to one global, right? Or like one moment, like the blind. If you blind the trinket at a certain time, like no matter how good this 10 out of 10 rogue is, he loses the base. But in something like Blitz, where you don't keep the base the entire game if you defend it, like it'll uncap. Like that's really good because it's not gonna rely on just one little terrible thing that ruins the entire game. Like the better players are going to consistently win that, even if they make a mistake like that. Like it's just.
I think I actually think capping the base in RBGs is probably or getting the flag rather, is probably actually one of the highest skill cap things you can do in the game. Like it is genuinely so difficult, as is defending it correctly, because like there's no one there. It's just you 1 versus 1, and majority of the time you've got to make these very small decisions to either outplay or get played, and it's really
like 3v1.
exciting. Yeah, sometimes exactly. Sometimes it's even 3v1. Like you have insane matchups, and it's honestly like thrilling, like genuinely thrilling.
It's so good. It would, for a viewer perspective, it's the best thing to watch. but like 66 or 10v10, and the new blitz thing they did is so good. Like the capping, and then the mount speed too. So the mount speed increase is really good because it doesn't make like druids and demon hunters and these super mobile classes like really overpowered and necessary.
Yeah.
Like you can get away with, like anyone can go float to a base now because they have 150% run speed. You know what I mean? Like it's so good.
Yeah, I will say a lot of players have been having some issues with some of the extra buffs that they've put on. I think it helps make the gameplay fun and helps balance out only having 8v8 rather than the what you miss out on having that extra healer or that other DPS and those abilities, you kind of get by having those extra abilities put in place. I love BG Blitz. I think that it is going to change the game in a great way. I did confirm with Adrian, though, that unfortunately in the design, they haven't put in implementation for war games yet. So there's no way to create tournaments for it yet. So,
well, people don't realize like how good Battlegrounds are.
Oh,
so that's the thing.
I think they know. It's just they are unable. Either the team is too small or some decision was made to put everything into arena. That the only way we'll see any sort of BG, it'll have to be a grassroots movement to make BGs into some sort of a tournament esport, because right now Blizzard isn't doing it. They need others to do it. Yeah,
I don't think RBGs are necessarily that level. I still think Arena is better than RBGs, even for a viewer. But like the condensed version of RBGs, like with the Blitz, with 8 people,
yeah,
I definitely think is probably the best. Like I never even thought of that. Like I always thought 66 would be the best. But then the fact that they just like made flags uncap after 45 seconds, and then also made everyone's mount speed increase, like that was such a good idea. And then
it makes it so much fun. So much fun. Speaking about little plays that make the game a difference, though, let's go back to Frost Mage for a sec. And I'm kind of curious, for talents in that, like, is it as cookie cutter as I think it is, or is there like actually some nuances there that you can do in the talents to really make Frost Mage sing depending on what your opponents are?
So majority of Frost Mages, from what I've seen, play like a Frostbolt spec with Blink Stun, where like you'll have a decent amount of DPS. You don't play Glacial because majority of the better players aren't going to let you get it off. So you have like decent DPS with Frostbolt, Frostbomb. But I don't like playing Blink Stun, and then I also don't like Frostbolt. I don't know. It's just not satisfying, like Frostbolting someone for kind of a little bit of damage and then not having Glacial. So you can play a number of different specs. Like there's definitely times where Frostbolt is a lot better than playing Glacial, but I just don't ever play it.
Why is that? Just because you don't want to?
I just don't like it, and then I like having Shimmer and Glacial. Like if you play Shimmer, from what I've seen, it like not a lot of mages play Shimmer ever on any region. Like they just always play Blink Stun, and it's probably the most optimal. But I'm not gonna play a game just because, or I'm not even gonna play a comp or a game just to only win. Like if I'm not enjoying myself while I'm winning, or I'm not stimulated, then I'm not just gonna do it. And then at the same time, like Shimmer is still really good. And then Glacial is okay. So
yeah, I think the problem with playing Blink Stun is you're only blinking out of stuns. You're not blinking any other time, and that's I think what feels kind of lame about it. Where Shimmer, it's like you get this freedom to kind of do what you want to do. Like you can Shimmer offensively to land a poly, you can Shimmer defensively. You know, you can do all these things. You're not caring about the stun. It's like you accept the fact that the stuns are going to happen, and that's fine. You know,
when you play Shimmer, you have to preemptively use stuff for stuns also. Like if you're not comfortable doing that, like I can get caught with Shimmer even if I'm Orc, and then I can easily die in a stun if I'm not preparing for it. So you have to be able to like preemptively do stuff, or it's just not going to be worth it.
Okay. So it comes down to the ability. Do you try to foresee, almost have that precognition, try to figure out what's going to happen, or do you just react to what happens? Which honestly, reacting is easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a preemptive player. Like I've never even had insane. Like even when people thought I was at my best, or I had the best time was like Mop. Like, and everyone thought I just had the most insane reactions, and I was just really fast. But I'm never fast at reacting. I'm only good at predicting what's going to happen. So Like, there's times where it looks like I'm reacting really fast to a situation, but I've already seen it coming before it happened, so that's why I'd be able to. But yeah, so with Shimmer, yeah, you have to like pre-alter, greater invis, pre-alter time, like at least get a barrier, like mirror images, just some type of damage reduction, or put yourself in a situation where you're not going to die in the stun. So it just comes down to positioning or using like a major cooldown before you get stunned.
I feel like Shimmer would be really good too in dragging somebody into a poor loss position for a kill, especially in like solo shuffle, where people seem to really like chasing around pillars.
Yeah, yeah, but it's hard to fully rely on that just because, like, assuming you get to the top, like once you get to the higher ratings, like majority of the best players aren't really gonna fall for that. So I feel like I would just play every game like with the best player in the world, or the best players in the world do this. If not, then I'm just gonna do this. That's how I look at it, at least.
I think Shimmer is also fun because the Ray of Frost. You can Shimmer Ray, and that
And
feels
Glacial.
like really.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of those things. You can actually use those abilities kind of easily if you're playing Shimmer. Well, I guess easier than Blink Stun. I think the Mage tree is pretty set in stone. I don't think there's many decisions you can make outside of Blink Stun. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think like one other decision you can kind of make on the Mage tree is Mass Invis or Mass Barrier, but it seems like most people just play Mass Barrier, right? I mean, I think that's more consistent.
Mass Fizz is more offensive, I feel like, and yeah, people aren't being offensive nowadays.
Yeah, there's and really like there's not really any reason to play it even with a rogue because they're so fast in arena now. They get just like land saps like instantly. So like there's never really that problem of getting in combat or anything. Yeah, there's not really that many decisions you can make on the Mage tree. I think you can if you were playing 2v2, you might want to play like block heal, which I even think block heal is decent in solo shuffle too. I don't know why people don't play it in solo shuffle, but that's like one thing, right? And then, one of the reworks that they did earlier in the expansions. Oh, well, I guess I don't know if this was in the game initially, but they gave every mage spec DB, which is cool. But now it has a 45-second cooldown. So that maybe not that cool.
It's gonna go down to 30 seconds, or it's probably be like 35, and maybe even 30, because you have shifting, and then you have what is it? Time manipulation. So like if you ice lance, it just reduces the cooldown of your dragon.
Oh yeah.
So it just ends up being lower cooldown anyway. And I think so yeah, you're gonna get a shifting off majority of the time, and then you also have things that reduce. You have some CDR abilities or talents. It ends up being
here's a
like
question.
On a close cooldown.
So I know mass polymorph. Some people were experimenting with it. I believe even this season. What do you think? How do you feel about mass poly?
So that's never been. If you can consistently set up 3v1s over and over, mass poly could potentially be effective. But like, how often are you going to be doing that? Number one, and then number two, it's like if you use sheep DRs on two players to go for a kill, and then it doesn't end up working out, like what's going to happen for the next 20 seconds? Like, you are not going to be able to peel as much. So ideally, in a perfect world, you sheep one target, you attack the other target in front of you, and then the healer is also CC'd by something else. So like if you're just using sheep DRs on two people, then you're not going to be able to peel for the next 20 seconds because they're on DR. Like both of them are on DR. And then it's also hard to just get a mass poly on two people in melee range, because then it's like you have to go the healer. So it's a huge positional risk.
It's also kind of why it's like bad as a sub rogue to like cheap shot the whole team. It's like, well, they're all CC'd, but now your kill's over. You can't do anything for the next 20 seconds, which feels really bad. Yeah, and you're not going to be doing any sustained damage. So it's like, what was the point? But
I feel like mass poly will be more beneficial in something like a BG scrum, where like you have multiple players in that rather than just two.
Yeah.
Or am I off on
people
that?
Are just potentially, but it's just all melee range. So how many who's gonna sit on top of each other in a BG? I think you will at lower ratings maybe, but people aren't going to sit on top of each other, and then even if you did in the battleground, it's like they're all sheeped, and then it's just going to break to some like random damage ability anyway.
True.
And you're sheeping off dots, and like everyone nowadays is just so obsessed with doing damage because they just nerf CC and up the DPS of every class and HPS. So
you aren't wrong. You aren't wrong. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a way that it would actually make it worthwhile, but even then,
yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
unfortunate. What about into the PvP talents? I think
I
think
play a
we've
number
pretty
of
much
different
hammered.
specs.
Pardon me?
There's a number of different specs. You can play like 4 different specs in the PvP talents for Mage, depending on the comp you're playing and what you're playing against.
Are there any like PvP talents that you always have to take? You know, they're like the ones that you'll
Ray of
take no
Frost.
matter what. Ray Frost all
Yeah.
the time. Okay.
So Ray of Frost, Cryopathy. That's the instant Ray of Frost stacks with Icy Veins.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that. And then the others, you either go Slick Ice or you go Glacial Spike, or you go Deep Shatter with Slick Ice. Yeah. Which
Okay.
is, it's just either Frostbolt damage or Glacial with Ice Lance damage. Or you can go a spec with Frostbolt and Glacial, which is okay, where you lose some Glacial damage and Frostbolt damage, but then you have decent Frostbolt damage and Glacial Spike that doesn't hit as hard.
Mm.
But I just like, go ahead.
Oh, some mages even go like Comet Storm. That's kind of like an optional thing too.
I think you should always play Comet Storm, I think.
I think but not every mage plays it though, right? Like it's
Not that I've seen, but it's kind of
okay.
weird because they have to be in one spot when you use it. Because
Yeah, you have to, like-
you can walk out of it.
You have to like Ice Nova them inside of it or something. Like Comet
Yeah.
Storm, Ice Nova.
You could do it on a Nova proc, like Pet Nova or Frostbite proc, and it's good.
And remind me again which spec you like the most. You like Slick Ice and Ray?
No,
Like that's no. Okay.
I like. Well, ideally, it would be I would need like Frostbolt and Glacial, but I just play the Glacial majority of the time. But if I were to play something like MLD, which I just don't play because I don't like the comp right now, I would play Frostbolt spec for sure. Like, and that, there's a lot of Residruid Mage, a lot of Residruid Mage comps. I'd probably play Frostbolt because you just have so much downtime. Like, you just sit there and kite and do max DPS, and the way to do max DPS is probably the Frostbolt spec because you can just get away with sitting there. But if you're playing with like a priest, maybe a paladin or any other healer, I've only played with priest and Residruid this season, except in Shuffle. But Shuffle's all over the place. Then I'd probably just play Glacial, Glacial, Shimmer, max Glacial and Shimmer. So
Okay. And what do you think of the Snowdrift spec, like that mastery one shot?
Mastery's weird because one, you benefit more from haste when you're Frost because you have a talent that gives you more haste. Number one. Number two, it's just hard to get cast off. Like if you play Mastery, you play against a good player, then it's going to be very difficult to land a kill on them because everything is so slow without haste. So you can just kind of prepare for it. Yeah, you'll have insane like Frostbomb explosions if you get them off, and then as well as Glacials and Ray. But if someone uses one ability during your giant like one shot, then it's not going to end up working out that well. And then the thing is with Snowdrift, you kind of almost have to use it on the healer a lot of times, which compromises your position a lot. And then like you have to accompany with Frostbomb, so you would have to make sure they can't dispel Frostbomb, and then make sure they don't run out of your Snowdrift. And then also make sure the other DPS don't peel you. So
yeah, there's a lot of like variables with that, isn't it? So it's kind of almost unreliable to a degree.
Like, yeah, like think of a healer. So if you did it on a Residruid, like you Frostbomb, you Snowdrift, you DBM, try to keep him in one spot. Like he could shift leap out of it, or he dispels Frostbomb, probably fine. You do it on a priest, he has Fear and Dispel and Fade. But like what ends up happening when I play Snowdrift is it only kind of works on the people that don't know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Still really fun though.
Taking my sweat, definitely fun though.
Do you miss deep freeze? Do you wish it was deep freeze instead?
I don't know. I don't care about deep freeze too much.
Really?
I mean, it's cool, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't know. There's just so many other issues. Like I think Frost Mage right now is so fun. Like it's really high skill cap. It's incredibly fun, but it's literally just weak. And then there's so many issues with other classes that make Frost Mage like not be able to use its full toolkit. Like there's so many cool abilities. You have Frostbomb, Glacial. You even have Slow. You have Comet Storm, Ice Wall. Like you have all of this shit, Ray of Frost, or all of this stuff, Ray of Frost. Like, but you just can't even use it a lot of times. Like this is the most keybinds I've ever had, and there's so many cool abilities, but I can't even use them because of how a lot of other classes are just designed and the way the game is right now. So
Yeah, I think playing Mage these days, you can get bullied like really hard by a lot of specs. Like last season, it was like Marks Hunters. Like you entered a solo shuffle, there was a Marks Hunter on the enemy team. You were just like, man, this is gonna be miserable. Like there's nothing really you can like try to play defensively, pillar all game, but it just you're gonna like lose no matter what you do. It feels like, and I don't know. It's just really difficult to land a spell like Glacial when there's so many stops. There's so many ways to avoid like getting hit by that ability or Ray of Frost, you know, that if you're getting bullied by like one of these high damage specs like Marks Hunter or Ellie Shaman or something as a mage,
or any hunter.
Yeah, any hunter, right? And it just feels bad. It feels really bad compared to other specs. Like even getting trained on a Warlock doesn't feel as bad for some reason. Like because Port just feels stronger and you can cycle through your spells and they kind of are high impact. But Mage, when you get tunneled, it's like you can't really punch them back. You know, that's the issue. Is you have no fighting chance in some cases.
Isn't that crazy? Because you have three or four blinks, alter time. You have Dragon's Breath, Blast Wave, a bunch of Novas, the best or one of the best slows in the game. Like, and you still can't even utilize those. Like when you're getting trained against a lot of things. Like that's so wild to think of. Like that's just unheard of. Also, here a quick story, 30 seconds.
Go for it.
You like the Marks Hunter thing. Okay, I literally there's a time last season where I don't know if you know who Chadsmanship is. He's just like the head top dog of Solo Shuffle Marks Hunter, and he just has like thousands and thousands of games every season on Solo Shuffle. But yeah, there was a time my record versus him on Mage is like 2 and like 500 or something. It's so ridiculous. There was a time where I queued into him like 5 lobbies in a row one night. Okay. I lost 99% of the games. I can't win with him. I can't beat him on my Mage. I went to bed. Had a nightmare about him, like a really bad dream. In my dream, I was queuing into him and losing, or something bad was happening. I literally woke up because I love WoW. I love playing WoW, and I liked playing Solo Shuffle if it wasn't Chadsmanship. I woke up in the morning and I queued Solo Shuffle, and instantly I get a queue pop. I was so excited, but instantly I queue into him again. This is like 10 hours later. Like, I just couldn't escape this one guy playing this one spec that I just could never beat. And I could never win with him. Like
I think that was the worst part about Marks Hunters is you couldn't, if you're a mage, you couldn't win with them for some reason. Like you couldn't beat them, you couldn't win with them. It was like really frustrating. Yeah, because it's awkward.
Yeah. Well, Mage Hunter's never been that good, but when both classes are strong, like you have to play a specific way a lot of times. When you have a comp disadvantage as Mage, you have to play a specific way. You have to CC and position better versus other classes you can get away with just doing damage and like hiding away and you're just gonna kind of win. But like, yeah, if you're playing a bad comp and you have a Mage on your team, you have to kind of be a bit coordinated in order to actually win against something that has a huge advantage over you. And there's certain people in Solo Shuffle that definitely struggle with that. So yeah, like Ellie Shamans and fucking certain Marks hunters in general. That being said, at least he's Marks and not BM. So
yeah, that's true. At least he was actually doing the damage, not just his pets.
Yeah.
Quick question. As never talking about, I remember, especially last X-Pac, Fire Mage was pretty much the go-to. Arcane was kind of doing okay, but Frost and Arcane kind of had that weird spot where, like, especially Arcane, like if you got locked out of Arcane, you pretty much lost your whole toolkit. Same with Frost. I know a lot of people were very excited for Dragonflight where now as a mage you had access to all these other schools, like as an arcane mage you could cast some frost or fire. So if you got locked out of one side of the school, you still had other stuff you could do. And do you still listening to what you're talking about for frost mage, understanding you have DB, you have a couple things that you can still cast if you get locked out of frost, is it safe to say that because your whole toolkit revolves so much around frost, about building icicles and doing stuff as frost mage, that if you get kicked out or if you get locked out of your frost school, you're pretty much just screwed until you can get your school back?
No, not really, because you have blinks and you have a bunch of arcane abilities you can use, and then obviously like DB, Blast Wave. But honestly, frost mage just
does it even do damage though? Because it sounds like would you even?
No. Well, yeah, there's not much damage you could do. I mean, you play Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire is decent damage. It's pretty good damage, but like, ideally, if you get kicked, you'll sheep somebody or something. So it'll still contribute to killing someone.
Okay.
Because someone CC, they can't do damage. They can't CC you, and your teammates doing damage. So the main issue is just having something. One, like sheep is nowhere near as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then your DPS is just low. That's the main concern. There's a number of different things they could do to fix that, and then just being able to dispel frostbomb on cooldown and not be penalized for it in a lot of cases is also really bad. So
yeah,
but
I don't mind getting interrupted.
I do think it is true though that I think Mage gets punished the hardest by interrupts compared to other casters. Like for instance, interrupting a Destro Warlock, like Chaos Bolt is going to give you the most value for your interrupt, but if they cast Fear, they can just cast Fire, and if that gets kicked, they can cast Fear. They can cycle through things, I think, a bit better. Or like Demo Warlock has like a bunch of different spell schools too. So I think Mage and like Affliction Warlock, for instance, kind of get destroyed by single spell or single school lockouts compared to other things. Like Evokers have like 5 spell schools or something crazy. Like I don't even know. So
yeah, Evokers are stupid.
Though, actually, I think you've hit like a really interesting point there, Big, because we've talked about mobility before and how has been a mobility creep, not just from the melee point of view, but obviously from the range point of view. Perhaps something that kind of helps with all that allows a sort of more kind of seamless. Because when you play Destro and you play Demo, the play style feels good. It feels good to play because you have so many more options to press. Do you think that maybe if we had more specs have the options to press other abilities, that means like casted abilities, there would be an increase in sort of maybe the skill required, or maybe the processing of melee to go, okay, I want to kick something like they're doing with Destro now. Like if I kick him on Fear, yeah, I stop the Fear, but this guy can Chaos Bolt me twice in a row, for example. That kind of processing, that sort of decision making kind of increases.
I think it's just the ability to punch back, and you can't really do that as Frost. Like you get kicked on Frost, you can't really scare them. You don't have any big high impact ability you can press that's gonna like make them like want to get away from you. So yeah, whereas again, Destro Warlock, you can press a bunch of different things and a lot of instant cast damage too that you can actually scare people if they're attacking you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mage.
But that's all damage too, though. Like the fact that we're only talking about damage. Like people should be afraid to just get CC'd, but no one is anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you kick a mage on Poly, he's gonna do damage. If you kick him on Frost, he's gonna sheep, but no one cares if they get sheeped anymore, so it's not even a big deal. And then the thing is with stuff like Destro Lock, it's like majority of their damage. If you look at the majority of Destro Lock's damage at the end of a game, like a high level game, it's just all their top damage is always Immolate. And then like they have like Conflag and Portals, they have all this instant damage. Like they're rarely even the majority of the highest level games, like they're not getting many Chaos Bolts off. Like at all, I feel like.
Yeah, you don't need to. There's so much damage output anyway. If you get a Chaos Bolt out, it's like a super fast one in like a stun. That's 2 seconds, and then you're dead because you've got that 300k damage.
Yeah.
Big bolt.
A big thing with Mage is in order to play specific specs, a lot of your abilities break CC, which is also bad.
Oh yeah.
Like Ice Nova, Comet Storm, Ice Lance, and Glacial. I mean, you can unspec half of those, and Frostbomb, all of it breaks CC. So it's just another thing to add. Things need to not break CC. We don't have to leave everything and do max DPS. Like,
But
Need to be able to polymorph and stuff.
I thought they buffed it. I thought they increased the amount of damage to break CC. And
Not poly.
then
Poly is
they
1 damage.
I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Maybe
Oh,
out
they
of
did though.
respect.
I thought they'd made a change there where it was going to take more damage to break CC, but then they've increased the amount of damage everybody does, so it negated the buff. Right?
I don't know.
I think there's a troll in our midst. I think
Maybe. Speaking of
I'm
troll,
not sure. I don't remember.
speaking of troll, tier set. So Glacial Spike does a big hit, but it takes a crap long time to cast it, and you're lucky if you can get the cast off, and yet the whole tier set is surrounded around Glacial Spike. So do you even bother with the tier set, or do you just like what do you do, Ja?
I mean, I have 4-piece right now because I'm playing every spec, but ideally, I'm getting rid of 4-piece. I'll just get more haste. Let me think. Let me see. Yeah, I would just remove shoulders, chest, and I would just get more haste, pretty much. But you have
Okay.
max haste first, most likely. Maybe craft other things. I don't know, but
I think Mage is one of the few specs this tier where you don't have to play your tier set. Like you don't have to play Glacial, so you don't have to play tier set, which is I
Yeah.
guess kind of nice if you don't. You
I
know,
heard,
if you
I
want
heard
to make that
Repelli
decision.
isn't doing tier set too.
I mean, majority of the
No.
tier sets are most probably just made for PvE. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think of PvE or
No.
PvP.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I know what you meant. Hey, they're right though. Like they're totally surrounded around PvE. They just happen to work in PvP. But okay. So do you keep at least 2-piece then? Like just in case you happen to get a glacial off, it does more damage and shatters,
Well-
or do you not bother at all?
Well, you're not even. You might as well just go 2-piece because glacial damage increase, and then also like if you get the 2-piece, it's good stats.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have 2-piece, it's haste mastery, and verse. So it's a lot of haste, and then a lot of either verse. Yeah, it's just a lot of haste verse. So I would just go 2-piece. Might as well, and then the rest can just be haste verse or haste mastery. Like you can craft gear.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
crit is just not good, and then verse caps at a certain point. So I would just go as much. I would get the verse cap, and then go as much haste mastery as possible. And-
Just out of curiosity, do you like the gearing system in Dragonflight? Like everything?
Yeah, I think gearing's really good. There's so many good things about Dragonflight, to be honest. Like the only thing, like gearing seems a lot easier. Maybe the easiest it's ever been, for sure. Especially gearing alts. Like, but I also play a lot more. Like I don't know how much. No, even if you don't play that much, it's still pretty easy to gear. I feel like.
Yeah.
It's just about figuring it out. Like a lot of people don't know where to start, but once they do, like just send them to a YouTube video that someone made, because there's a lot of players that are putting out like YouTube videos, and it's easy to find where to catch up, and then it shouldn't take that long, especially compared to other expansions. It shouldn't take that long to gear.
Yeah, I think everything is pretty straightforward, except for I think the crafting system messes people up because that's kind of like
that's it.
not that intuitive. But they should have like a sign in the auction house that like explains like you can like click something and it shows you in game how to use the crafting system or something. Because it's jarring. It's like what the hell? Like what is it? Because and then you need to buy those little tokens to increase the item level. It's just
All that shit's or stuff. Damn it, all that stuff is weird.
It's fine, buddy.
But yeah,
I just want to argue. I want to argue on just Google a YouTube video, because there's a lot of opinions out there, and many have errors or are missing some of the pieces. Talking about the crafting system, talking about they miss the fact that there's trophies that you can take PvE gear and make it PvP worthy. Like there's a bunch of issues out there, so I'd caution on just saying watch anything.
Well, yeah, true. I think the best thing is just find the best players of their class, and then like for example, when I didn't play, I came back. I literally just watched Aegis. I watched his YouTube videos, or like Venriki, because both those mages make YouTube videos, and then I trust them because like they're really good and put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
So if you find somebody of your class that plays all the time and is really good, then just watch one of their videos if they're making
100%.
them, or just ask them in their stream. You know what I mean?
Or you can ask technically PvP. We happen to know.
Exactly.
We've got a little
seriously.
monopoly on all the information.
No.
I would love that though. That'd be interesting. Or alternatively, I've got an example. You can use our code to get into skill cap.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Discount
right.
link will be in the show notes.
You guys.
Do you guys have? Is there another website like SkillCap? Like, does it even exist?
There is for
Or-
other games. It's
Oh
called
yeah, for a while though.
not for WoW, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't
No, I think
think
there's only skill cap really. Is either you pay for quality content or you get free and maybe have misinformation or old information.
Yeah. That's a problem with everything everywhere though.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to find like a reliable source and then just go with them, pretty much.
Exactly. Just not everything is quality news. Some of it's Fox.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to. You were kind of highlighting it, but I just want to speak directly to its stats, though. Is it haste versus mastery? Because I saw some people want crit over mastery, and I'm not sure why.
I like haste best. You go 25% verse out of arena, because then it goes to 30% in arena, which is like the soft cap. And then I would just go full haste, as much haste as possible. So I would say verse cap and then haste and mastery.
Interesting. I wonder why people want to crit then. That's weird. Unless it's for the glacial spike to try to maximize and like super spike somebody. But that seems a little bit weird.
With
just
shatter,
shatter.
you're already critting anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like crit sucks, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I think in general, like for most classes, like stats, like people put a huge emphasis on like fine tuning their stats to get like the optimal amount. But I think you can just play with whatever you want for the most part. But haste is like always like haste is just a feel good stat. You want haste so the game feels good, and then once it feels good, you can just do whatever you want with the other ones typically.
I feel like crossmage, you need haste. Like,
yeah,
it's just by far the best stat, and then you also benefit from it because there's a talent that just gives you more haste,
yeah,
like bonus haste.
Indeed.
Except for
right.
arcane, actually.
Oh,
Frost,
yeah?
you can go mastery. Frost mastery is really, or fire. Sorry, fire mastery is really strong.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like it just correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the game is designed, like the length of cast times and everything is designed around the fact that you should have a certain amount of haste. Like everything's almost base lower than what they would normally want it to be, knowing that haste is there to make it faster to where it actually feels good to cast. You know what I mean? Like they make a spell 3 second, or let's say a 1.5 second cast, knowing that you're going to have enough haste that's going to drop it down to like a 1.2 or something like that. Because that's really where it would be to feel good, but they know that you're going to get haste to get there. So
potentially, I'm not sure. I don't know if they think that hard into it.
Oh, I think they do.
I hope that would be nice.
It'd be nice if they did, yeah. I think whenever you play any caster, like not having any haste kind of sucks. It's just a shame that for some casters or some specs, you have if you don't have like full mastery, your heals do nothing. Kind of thinking about I think like Resto Shaman's one of those sort of ones where like you have to go full mastery, otherwise it does nothing at all, and that's kind of lame because when you're with the amount of sort of like micro CC that exists in the game, it's a real shame to kind of have to feel like you need to go this one path, but the other path makes it more fun to play. I think it'd be nice to have a bit more versatility. But speaking of versatility, like, are there any embellishments that you would specifically go for? Obviously, I feel like precog is the one. Is there any other like sort of more niche embellishments you'd take on your gearing for Frost Mage?
I mean, I just go the precog and then the belt, whatever that one's called. The belt damage proc. The Furious Binding of Gesticulation.
Or you get the main stat when you CC or interrupt or whatever, right? Yeah. I think mages have played those two embellishments the entire expansion. I don't think maybe you could have played like Cloak last season, but it seems like those are the two big ones for Frost Mage.
Yeah, I think I might eventually just get the pants, which is the what is
The
that?
haste one. Haste
Yeah,
pan?
maybe, I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, that's what's nice about like near the end of the season. Like everyone's kind of got enough stuff to actually kind of play around with different, items, and I think that's really cool because there's a lot of people that kind of come up with some interesting, interesting sort of item combinations that kind of work a little bit better. They give you a slight bit of edge, which I think is good.
I've always been bad at like the gearing and stuff. Like I'm all about just in the arena. Like whenever I lose a game, for example, I'm not like thinking of a comp or a stat or an item that'll like help me win. I'm always thinking about like, oh, what could I've done differently in that game to help me win? But and I've always been bad at like all the gearing stuff. Like I just find someone else that puts more time into it. Although before I came on, I looked into a lot more stuff today. But ideally, I'm just gonna have somebody else that like spends more time and effort into looking into that stuff, and then just copy them, and then just outplay them in the arena. Ideally,
Yeah. I feel like that's the better of the option, to be better at sort of thinking of your outplays and what could you do better than sort of, oh, which gear should I get now? Like, how can I min max more?
yeah. I mean, ideally there should be a balance, but I'm not balanced in that regard. I'm more like more gameplay.
Yeah.
Like how do I
definitely.
destroy this person versus how do I? Have you ever seen Rush?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the Chris Hemsworth guy. That's me. Okay. And then there's other people that are like the other guy. You know, one guy makes the best car, but he's not the best at driving it, and then the other guy is the best at driving the car, but the car isn't good. But I'm the best at driving the car.
I understand. Yeah. Oh, I mean, do you think racials make a difference then to kind of to that gameplay? Is that something that you think about when it comes to gameplay? Is there like I pick orc for this?
Yeah, 100%. I play orc because it makes my stun shorter, and then I always play shimmer. But if you're playing orc and blink and ice flows, I don't think that's good. You should play a different race, like night elf, maybe human, or something. Not even human. Probably just go night elf at that point.
Yeah.
But orc, I just like orc because it allows me to like play more. Like I just get to play more because my stuns are shorter and I get shimmer. So
Yeah.
chances are I'm probably not going to die in the stun if I prepare well enough. And then once I'm out of the sun, I get to do a lot more than people that play ice flows. So
No, that makes sense. I mean, do you think Blizzard should eventually let us choose what racials we want? Like they don't even matter what. Like if you want to play dwarf, you could pick any racial. Do you think that's something that they should do? Just out of curiosity more than anything. It's a bit
I don't
divisive,
know.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's expensive, the race change, and sometimes racials are huge. Like in tournament settings, if someone's playing a different race from you against like certain comps, then it's a huge, it's like a devastating difference. Like a dwarf being able to, if Feral Druid's really strong and a Feral Druid pops all their cooldowns on you and then you just dwarf it off, or Acid Rogue, for example, just all bleeds, then like you're kind of just screwed at that point. If you guys are playing like similar comps, so I don't know. It like takes away from the lore or something. That it's kind of weird. I guess in competitive PvP settings, maybe if you want to hard focus on PvP, it would be optimal to allow people to change their race just so they don't have to spend money every time to change their race, because you know they're always making changes. Well, not always, but a lot of times they're just making random changes to the point where like this race is going to be better than the other one, like from a month before. So yeah, I'd say so. But ideally, sorry, good.
No, you good.
Ideally, you should just be making the actual gameplay as best as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Prioritize that at this point, because honestly, as far as gearing goes, like they're pretty good. I don't think it's necessarily difficult or that annoying to gear, aside from the crafting stuff, which really isn't that bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if they just make the actual gameplay and design the classes well, then everything else to me is like extra. So
yeah, very true. I saw a really good tweet from Venruki about the races where I think someone was saying, oh, you should be able to, I think it was like I think maybe Zenon had tweeted something about where it was like a preview for being able to change your racial like a PvP talent. And Ven commented underneath that and said something along the lines of, and obviously I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, but why would you want to face your like hard counter racial every single game? Because let's face it, if you're a feral druid, they're going to all get stone form. And you're just going to have your major go, or Acero, for example, just gone, and you'd have to face that constantly. And that's I do get where they're coming from, but I also at the same time I wouldn't want to face my racial counter the entire time. So,
well, in the highest level of games, you're doing that anyway, because especially in tournaments, like people are going to just play the best race.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then also, if people are also going to just pick the best race that does the best against the meta. Is what's happening now.
Everyone's night elf right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, that's why everybody was orc to begin with. That's why they made the changes, is because a whole bunch of people copy and pasted that because somebody said it was the best. So everybody went, okay, race change. And then they nerfed it. So then people changed. So I don't know.
Right now, there's like a weird interaction with healers, like with the PvP trinket and Will Forsaken. Like if you do it in one order, they won't put them on cooldown. Like Undead might be like sleeper OP for like any healing spec that can play it, but I'm not sure.
Because of a bug?
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't be still have to deal with the rest of druids, so.
Yeah, that's right.
True. I think why don't we move on? I think Big, you always like to do this next segment part.
Big. Can I go to the bathroom?
Oh yeah, sure.
I have to go potty. Be right back.
All right.
Oh, no, don't do that. I meant this.
Hopefully that was Jar not going to the toilet on his carpet.
No.
I
think he waved a little something in the he waved a little something in the camera, I think. Anyways.
Well, I mean, let's go back to the racials then real quick, because
Sure.
I think it's such a divisive topic, and it's one that I think we talk about a lot, because it's the kind of customization from a PvP point of view. And I think I saw someone in Jahmilli's chat talking about, you know, wanting to be able to pick and choose, but it's kind of like you kind of lose that RPG element of the game.
Totally.
Yeah, like what would a goblin be without rocket jump, you know? Like
exactly.
That's kind of the appeal of playing like a little goblin. You're just like this silly looking creature who has this like goofy looking racial, you know?
Can you imagine a gnome stomping you and stunning you?
Yeah, a gnome with war stomp wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it just wouldn't.
Gotta make sense, man. That's what I don't like about a lot of the newer classes. They don't make sense. Death Knight doesn't make sense to me. It's like a warrior and a warlock combined. Demon Hunter doesn't make sense. They just like fly around everywhere. Like you can't knock a melee off a bridge and then they just fly back up instantly.
Sure they can. They leap.
No. Windwalker or Monk makes sense. Monk is a cool, unique class. Dragon kind of makes sense, but it just looks weird. Like they can't be slowed and they have wings and they're flying around everywhere. That doesn't make sense, man.
I agree with John. I've always been like a class purist in WoW. Like I like the OGs, you know? That's how I think WoW should be, just the OG classes and none of the new stuff. I agree. Monk feels like the most honest out of all of them. Yeah. Like Demon Hunter is again really ratty. It's just too annoying.
Even when Demon Hunter's bad, it seems like it's a god class. You know what I mean?
They gave it too much. That's the problem. They gave it too much. That's the be all end all of it. They gave it like so much stuff. I mean, obviously, if you think back to when it first came out and when you could like blade dance, like dodge stuff, like they had just so much. They've got unbelievable amounts of things, like 3 different stuns and stuff. It's crazy. So yeah, I just think they've thrown new classes in with so much extra. I think the only ones that they really messed up on is Devastation Evoker, which is kind of pants, and but Preservation is pretty cool, and Augmentation's a bit nuts. So
I think Evoker's cool. It just looks weird, and I don't like how I don't like how they move around and can't be slowed or something. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's janky.
So let's move on. We're about done. We'll move on to comps with Frost Mages. So I know Frost Mages kind of goes back and forth, being good in 2s and kind of bad in 2s. But what do you think are the best Frost Mage comps currently in 2v2?
I'm sure that Residue Frost Mage, anything with a Residue and twos is good. Like
Yeah.
literally any class. So automatically it's just a good comp. But you could replace Frost Mage with even a Fire Mage or Arcane Mage or almost any other class, and it's almost a better comp. But compared to every other comp you could play, I would say Residue Frost Mage. I only play double DPS comps in twos, so I don't play with healers ever anymore.
Really?
So the double DPS comps I play are like Mage Rogue. Mage Rogue with Frost is still pretty good. And then I'll play.
Shadow
I
Priest
play
Mage was really fun last season. I like that comp.
Yeah, it feels terrible now, but
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
never see any. Like even when I'm playing twos as double DPS, we're pretty good. So we're still pretty high rated, and I never ever see a mage ever. The only time I see a mage is either with a priest or a rogue. So I'd go with like mage Resta Druid, mage disc priest, maybe holy priest, and mage rogue. Those would probably have to be the best.
That makes
And
sense.
then 3v3, you have a bunch of options too. I think, right? You can play with Rogue, you can play with Warlock. Is there like, what do you think are the best comps right now in threes?
RMP number one, but again, what the thing is with RMP, Arcane is definitely better almost always. But I mean, if you're primarily Frostmage, here let me add another thing with this comp stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The best players can play almost any comp with a healer and get really high rated. It's only so people shouldn't focus nearly as much about comps when you're lower rated. Like, because I can play with any class. I can play with another Frost Mage, even when they're bad. I can play with like I don't know literally any class with almost any healer and get pretty high rated. It's not until you reach the super high ranks against like other rank 1 players or 20 level players. That's when it starts to matter quite a bit. So yeah, I'll just preface by saying that, and then best comps, yeah, RMP for Frost. I actually go with Mage, probably Mage Lock, any spec Warlock. I think Demo might be the best, and then I'd probably RMP. I'd say RMP number 2, and then after RMP, it would have to be just Mage Resta Druid X. So whatever X you want to throw in there, depending on the Qs you get, it's probably going to be a pretty good comp. Just because of how strong Resta Druid is with Mage.
Yeah, it's got that synergy. And then I know you said you haven't maybe played that many RBGs this season, but do you know if Mage is good in RBGs at all?
I haven't played many RBGs. I've only played the Blitz, and there's actually MMR in Blitz. Like I'm at the point now with Blitz, I've been in a Blitz queue for like 3 days, and it doesn't pop. But
That's
Mage
weird.
potentially could be good. You could definitely find success on flag maps. You know, you have Ice Wall, you have really good burst, and CC is pretty effective in Battlegrounds if you're not having like a big team fight. If I were to rate mages, like a Frost Mage and RBGs, I'd put them like, just compared to other classes, I'd probably say like 5 out of 10 maybe. But yeah, at the same time, and until you get to the highest ranks and you're fighting against the best players, it's the spec that you play isn't like this huge deal. Like you should still always just play what's most fun or stimulating or satisfying to you.
And then I guess no matter, maybe this answer is going to depend on bracket, but let's just like limit it to like 3v3. So what are you trying to do as a Frost Mage to win the game in 3v3? What is your just general strategy, your general goals?
Effective slows, high DPS, so frost bombing off CD. If someone is dispelling your frost bomb a lot, then sheep someone first, get the dispel, then frost bomb. So high DPS, good positioning with your slows. And I'd also look for like super high value ice walls, because ice wall is incredibly valuable if you're doing it effectively, and you can land a lot of kills with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't land a kill, you can get a lot of cooldowns from it. And if you're playing with rogue mage, if you're playing rogue mage priest, then you can be more aggressive and get CC. But ideally, you want to synchronize like your big burst abilities with your rogue stuns, because he's actually going to be the one CCing a lot more.
And then on the other end of the side, like how if you're up against a frost mage, what are you specifically trying to do to counter them?
Just not get caught in a bad spot, because when you fight a frost mage, a lot of times, depending on the comp you're playing, if you're playing like a hunter cleave or a melee cleave, you can kind of just train the frost mage and shut him down quite a bit. So yeah, melee cleave, I would say do that. If you're playing a caster cleave, just don't get caught in a bad spot, because you're going to win most likely if you just don't die. And then as far as melee ranged 3v3 comp versus a frost mage, if you have a hunter can just destroy the mage every time he's in line of sight. And then I think majority of other casters also have an advantage over mage at this point, just because they can put out a lot more damage. So I think just positioning and don't get caught in a bad spot, and you'll out damage a mage and probably win if you don't get CC'd. But then if you're playing a melee cleave, train the mage majority of the time.
So really, if the goal was, let's say, use the frost mage, if I was trying to try to kill you, if I was playing melee, just train you, or if anything, try not to get CC'd and just out damage you. Really?
Yeah. Because like if when you go up against a class, you think of every weakness of the class and do your best to exploit it. The weakness of mage is, in order to actually kill somebody, you have to cast. So if they're not able to sit there and cast and get frost bombs off, then they're gonna, like, they have to cast and they have to CC a lot of times, unless they're playing something like Mage Lock or Resto Druid Mage, where they just run away and kite the whole time. But at that point, it's going to be all about DPS and positioning. So like, you just find the weaknesses of Mage, which is DPS and having to cast in order to win, and then don't allow them to do that. If you're playing a melee cleave, then you can train him the whole time, but if he starts to drag you in a bad spot, just let him go there, hit something else until he has to come out again.
Makes sense.
Like, you don't want to put your healer in a bad spot, pretty much.
Well, of
you're a
course
shield.
Yeah. You shouldn't. Tell it to half of the people in Soul Shuffle, though, myself included. I've chased around a pillar by accident.
Yeah, enough mages, man. Enough mages.
When you play melee, you have to pretend that you're a shield for your teammates, especially a high DPS melee.
That's a really good point. I think that's something that many people miss. They think that they're just the damage dealer and not realizing that they are the meat shield that stops the enemy from pushing past them into their healer.
Yeah.
That's why Magnus is so good. Someone like Mag.
Right? He's really...
Blizzo doesn't let you get to his teammates.
Yeah. I want to say the same with Blizzo. Blizzo's really strong with that too.
Yeah, Blizzo's amazing. Mez is also really good at that stuff, which people don't realize.
Oh yeah, I know. Watching him like cross CC and just stop a team, just like, the stuff he does just blows me away.
Yeah. It's like what you were saying earlier, Jar, about a kind of like sort of recognizing what's about to happen rather than reacting. I feel like the best players and the guys that do the best and sort of are really effective are just very good at reading the flow of the game and sort of guessing, or kind of not even guessing, sort of like knowing what's coming next. I think that's what makes Waz so devastatingly difficult to kind of come up against, because it feels like he's already that 2 steps ahead, knowing exactly where you're going to go. I feel like Peekaboo as well is really good at that, sort of just kind of understanding that flow of the game. Is exactly what makes them so good.
Pika has a very good offensive flow, and he's extremely quick. Like, he's kind of the opposite to me, in a sense where he'll just react to things really quickly. Versus, well, obviously he's thinking about them before it happens, but he's just more of like a huge offensive threat. Like, when you fight Pika, you have to adapt to him a lot more than he has to adapt to you, pretty much.
Yeah.
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah, very good. So I guess to kind of cap this off, to round this off, we always ask this one question at the end of the sort of subject of analysis. What if you had all the money in the world, like all the influence, if you were the kind of CEO of Blizzard, you had absolutely total control, you could do whatever you wanted, what is the one thing that you would change in World of Warcraft?
just the attention to PvP. Like all of the most successful and popular and relevant games in the history of time are all insanely good esports, like League of Legends, Counter Strike. Like all of these games are just have a really good PvP, pretty much. So just legitimately hard focus and pay attention. Pay attention to players too, like the people that literally spend their entire life PvPing. Like all of these streamers, all of these players that you see streaming all the time, they've been doing this for so long at the highest level. Like it's your job, I guess. Obviously, it's your job as a developer to do all this stuff, but at the same time, it's like it's almost the player's job to just know what the hell they're talking about, to just play this game all day. So I would say listen to really good players a lot more, and then just focus on improving the gameplay the most, as well as I think the aesthetic too, because for whatever reason there's still classes like BM Hunter, Death Knight, Demo Lock that just look, watching these classes as a viewer is just a nightmare. There's just too much stuff going on everywhere. So I would just say listen to really good players more and make PvP better, which will just make everything about WoW better.
Yeah, I think
because it's just going to get more attention, and then also
absolutely.
make it better to watch. Also, add cosmetics. Keep adding cosmetics. It's unlimited money. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship with WoW, but if they just keep adding cosmetics, I'm just going to buy them all anyway. Like, if you want money, just add a bunch of cosmetics. You can add it to rewards for raiding anywhere. Like, there's so much stuff, man. I'm in love with WoW, even though they abuse me. Like, I want this game to be the best it could possibly be for everyone. You know?
Yeah, I think that's something that unites all of us, is that we want the best for the game, even when we're really upset with it. Like, we want it to be really good. We want it to have that thing that that made us fall in love with it in the first place. And I think, some care to PvP would be great. I sadly think they fumbled it very early on when League of Legends, for example. I remember when that was kicking off. I remember all of that, from season 1 all the way up to whatever season 5, when things really got big. They like, I remember the kind of care that Riot put in, and I felt like Blizzard at the time just kind of went, well, it'll be fine. We're the biggest MMO ever, and then things started to dip at that point. I think that was when Kata and obviously Kata and Mop were good, but like, it was sort of going into that era of when things started to go downhill rather than just rise rapidly. And I think it just got sadly a little bit too cocky. But I think definitely getting them more focus on the PvP, which I feel like they are sort of moving into in the WoW esports scene, I guess. But getting more attention and more care and more focus on the gameplay would be really fantastic.
I'm curious as to where their priorities lie also. Like, how would that not be the most beneficial for them to... Like, all of the most popular games, most successful games, unless I'm mistaken, like, what other game is there? There's, like, stuff like Zelda, obviously. Zelda is insane. Like, The Witcher 3, like, God of War. All of these games, of course, are insane standalone games, but they're not... People aren't playing these games every single day for their whole life. Like, the games that people are playing every day their whole life are competitive, like high level esports games.
Yeah. I think they're probably looking at the PvE side of things, like looking at Race to World first and going, well, this is getting... I mean, obviously that is a competitive esport in a way, in the same way that PvP is, because there is still a competition, and they're looking...
That's only temporary.
No, of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like, it is a one-time at the start of a patch, same sort of thing. I suppose Mythic Plus might be one, but it's not nearly as popular as the Race to World first. They're probably looking at that and going, okay, well, we've always been focused on raids as a big major feature of each expansion, and that's kind of pushing our story along. Let's put all our focus on there and the gameplay of that, which is why I feel like we're always impacted by PvE changes rather than PvE is impacted by PvP changes. They have that distinction now.
The thing is there's not as many feelings. Like, it's devastating to lose to another person, like a player, not like to a timer. I don't know. It's just different. Like,
totally.
And then, like I said, it's not PvP. Yes, you're competing against other people, but not directly. Like, there's you can't, like, I don't know. You can't put a microscope on it and just see these plays that happen. Like,
I'm a firm believer that WoW PvP is the one of the greatest competitive games that's ever been made. Like
Yeah, agree.
it should be.
Yeah, it's just everything, like just the movement of your character, like the way you move your character feels so good in WoW compared to other MMOs. You know, just like everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
Everything
MMO.
flows. Yeah, and
Well, you're saying MMO wise or just in general?
MMO wise, like if you watch these other
okay.
MMOs, everything just like looks clunky. It's like looks I don't know, but like the cartooniness of WoW plus like the combat system, like the combat system, people don't appreciate it enough. Like
100%.
Stuff like interrupting is fun, you know, like these little tiny little things you can do is just all really cool, and just like sequencing your spells. I mean, we've talked about this, Jaw. Like WoW to me kind of feels like a fighting game at some in some cases. Like you know, it has that sort of feeling, that immersive feeling of like fighting someone, which I really like.
That's why I'm obsessed with MMA. Like, okay, whatever. This sounds weird. If I didn't play WoW, I'm telling you, I would just be I would be an MMA fighter. Like that is the second to WoW. Like WoW.
Why can't you do both?
What's well, it's too late. I'm too old. Too old for one. But like, if I didn't play WoW, that would be my favorite thing to do. And that's the closest thing to MMA, which is like the highest skill capped, stimulating thing ever. Like going against another human being and using all your different tools. Like even all the different martial arts are very similar to World of Warcraft classes. Like there's boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. And then the people that do it the best are the ones that bring it all together. Like very similar to WoW. Yeah. And then also there's like Smash Melee, which I think is definitely up there. But like these are the games that, if given enough attention from the company and them understanding the potential, they will shatter everything. Like it will be the best, if not like top 3 esport, if the companies actually understand that and try to do it and make it happen.
Personally,
like, it's so obvious too. That's what I feel like.
I'd love to listen to Jaw and Mighty Mouse just go at it about what's better, World of Warcraft or MMA. I feel like MMA would just.
Yeah, I mean, MMA, of course, 100% better because it's not completely reliant on a company to decide things. That's like, it's like God. It's like in WoW, God is Blizzard. You know what I mean? Like they have to create everything. In MMA, you create it yourself.
True. Well, based on what the creator already created, but yeah,
exactly.
I feel like
it's getting a little meta.
We've missed a beat here. I feel like, you know, like we got Logan Paul and KSI boxing. We should get WoW PvP as boxing. Let's do it. I mean,
oh my god.
Let's just. They don't even have to do it. We just do it ourselves. We just set it up next BlizzCon. We get a small little ring, and we just get everyone in there, film it, put it on YouTube.
That'd be amazing. A lot of people would love that, by the way. Like, that's not even kidding.
Would we build it ourselves. Like, I mean, you know what? We don't need Blizzard. We don't need the MMA stuff. We just get in there. We do our own thing.
Yeah.
Well, but before we make that the headliner, why don't we get into the PvP news and talk about what's happened in the past few weeks?
Yeah.
How's that sound?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
I'm just gonna say though, if there's a pay-per-view of Jahmilli versus Sea-Doo, I am paying for that. All right.
No, dude. You know how big I am? It's
John, I know how big you are.
It's Jahmilli versus Raikou. Raikou is 6'3" or 6'4", and he used to be big, but I think he's off steroids now, so he's kind of small. But he would get decimated. There's no good WoW player that could beat me in hand-to-hand combat, except maybe Gareki.
Oh, Gareki would, yeah.
But in boxing, no one in boxing, no WoW player in boxing.
Fair enough. All right, on that though, speaking of events that have actually happened, we had the WoW Classic Variety Show, which finished just the other week ago. That included a race to kill Hogger. I never actually saw whoever got to kill Hogger. It just ended like it felt like people were just too busy running around leveling, and they never actually got to Hogger. Yeah. There was a Black Phasm Depths race, so that was a couple raid teams went in and tried to race through the raid there really quickly in Season of Discovery. And then there was the Makara duels, which ended with Infestors as a paladin winning. I believe he took out Sony, who got second place. So that was as always,
joke artist.
Yeah, as always, those Makara duels really seem to bring out the passion in people, and it was a pretty good showing. So just quick congrats to all the winners for that. That's it for events that I'm aware of. Into hot fixes though, there's quite a few hot fixes there. There's a big back on the 19th, just on reset there. There's quite the tuning. I was throw it to you first, Jahmilli. Anything there stand out to you? What was any of the big tuning that you really liked?
Wait, the most recent one, or is there a new one?
No, the one that happened on the 19th there on Tuesday.
Let me double check. It was okay. Resto Druid needed to be addressed by far. Like, it's the biggest issue in my opinion. Like, every other healer is worse compared to Resto Druid. Number one. Number two, the kind of like gameplay that, as of right now, Resto Druids kind of promote almost like within their comps or their team. Is also like a lot lower level. Like, Resto Druids should have to clone and at least contribute to their team in order to win, rather than just sit back and out heal everyone until the other healers yeah. But let me think. What else was good? Ellie Shaman was good. Ellie Shaman is really, really broken, and that was like flying under the radar for a while.
They nerfed Sub Rogue. They did
Sub Rogue, yeah, they have to nerf Sub Rogue. Had to nerf Sub Rogue, Ellie Shaman, slight buff to Feral Druid, I remember. BM Hunter needs to be dealt with. Oh my god, like all of the really troll like passive AFK specs are way too strong. Like, for example, you play Marks Hunter or Survival Hunter compared to BM Hunter. Marks and Survival are both like way harder to play at a high level, but even if you play them the best, you're going to lose to a worse BM Hunter than you. So like, the classes shouldn't be designed like that. So BM Hunter, way too much AFK, do too much damage. Druid, way too much AFK, do too much healing. Same for Ellie Shaman, but they kind of dealt with that, it looks like.
They dealt with the bots. They DMCA'd the bots, apparently.
Oh,
well, there's
the thing
that.
Is too,
yeah.
Here's another thing. If your class can be played by a bot, like, don't be mad at the bot at that point. Like, there is no possible way a bot could play Mage or Rogue or almost every other class except like 3 classes. Like, bots cannot. They can never get away with playing these classes. If a bot can play your class, it's a really poorly designed class. A bot could easily play BM Hunter if you add movement to it.
Do you do you remember that clip of Peekaboo? The Peekaboo clip where I think Asmongold put it on his on one of his videos as well, but like where Peekaboo's like on like almost like automatic just says all of the cooldowns in a row. Do you not think you could program that into a bot just to kind of, when the condition is you start off with the cheap shot and then that whole list of things just rails itself off after one after the other?
No, 100% not. A rogue, you could never bot like a sub rogue or an outlaw rogue. No matter how broken they are, no matter how like overpowered they are, like you can't bot those specs. Even Ass Rogue, because there's too many things you have to do. Like, what these bots nowadays, you can bot a Shadow Priest, which is sad. Like, these Shadow Priests, these Ellie Shamans, even a BM Hunter, they just plop their butts in one spot and do more damage than everyone in the arena. Like, that should never be possible.
Yeah.
A BM Hunter at least would be hard to bot because it's just movement. Like, BM Hunter runs away and does all this stuff the whole time. Ellie Shaman, Shadow Priest, these are bottable classes. I feel like a Death Knight almost can be botted. If a bot can play your class right now, then the class is really poorly designed. So
I think if you do PvE damage, then a bot can play you pretty much, because all it has to do is just run around, press the buttons.
Yeah.
In essence, yeah. And I think a lot of classes are sadly, in the PvP at least, are sadly built like that. And Ellie Shaman is sadly one of those.
It's definitely Ellie Shaman. It's like the leading one there.
Yep,
Ellie Shaman, BM Hunter, Shadow Priest occasionally.
All right, I think other than that, a couple other things. So there was the roadmap update. I'm sure both of you guys checked that out. So obviously there's 2 roadmaps. There's one for Classic, which shows, right now we got the Ruby Sanctum raid that's going to drop very soon, followed into a new level cap to the Season of Discovery. Keep that going up, so it's going to level 40, plus some more things. Then there's the new self-bound mode that they're going to put into hardcore and then I think we're going to get one more level jump to Season of Discovery before Cataclysm Classic drops, and on to the next year we go. And then for Dragonflight, so pretty soon here we're going to have 10.2.5 drop, which is going to be a bunch more world content. The mysterious 10.2.6, which was the skull and crossbones flag that they dropped onto it. Whole bunch of speculation into what that is. Do you think that might have something to do with PvP? Do you think they're like people are just completely missing the fact that that is a PvP thing?
I mean, you could hope. One would hope that'd be really cool if it was.
It's just outlaw rogue buffs. That's what it is. It's gonna.
Yeah. They were like, you did get a little community note that's like, we really enjoyed the way that Outlaw was built in like season 4 of Shadowlands, so we're bringing it back.
You know what would be? Do you remember that arcade game where you'd race the boats? Like it was like in every single arcade. I don't know what it was called, but you'd get on the boat thing and you'd race. What if it's boat racing or something in WoW?
That's the real PvP I've wanted.
Exactly.
I want to get a boat and race my friends.
I'm just gonna put on tinfoil hat and say that is BG Blitz going rated.
I think that'd be cool.
That is very big tinfoil hat, but
I know.
I like it.
I like it. That's what I want.
BG Blitz is the best.
Hell yeah.
Best in the game.
I agree.
I'm not even trolling. This bracket.
I think the other thing, so season 4 is going to be in the spring sometime. So that's probably going to be like April, May. There's going to be one more patch, a 10.2.7. And then followed into that sometime in the summer is going to be the War Within pre-patch. So there'll be world events like they always do. A bunch of class changes that. So people getting used to that, getting used to the new hero talents, whatever they are for all the classes. And then we'll see War Within drop sometime between the summer and the autumn. And I just want to point out, this is that we were talking earlier about it, but this is where the 3rd season of AWC and WoW Esports for 2024 is going to happen. So one season in season 3, we're going to see that January into March. Season 4 is going to have another season of AWC. That's going to be Cup 3, 4, and then the grand final. And then there's going to be another season, whatever that ends up being, for the War Within. So I think that's about it for that. We kind of skipped over it. The PvP rating adjustment. So have you guys has the MMR actually felt different?
I haven't played threes. I haven't played threes yet. Probably gonna queue some today. Not sure.
I mean, if you look at if you go to Justvar, check PvP, you can look at activity, and it seems like most people are gaining rating if you just like look at the activity tab. So presumably that means that MMR did go up if people are gaining rating.
Yeah, I see. I don't know. Like they said that they're gonna look at it. There's gonna something go in as soon as possible, but it never actually went into the hot fixes. So it's all been kind of like a feeling. Like for all we know, it's gone up because a lot of people are like, "Hey, they're gonna," so they jumped in and started playing, which actually then created the inflation, right? So I don't know. I question it, but okay. And then so a couple things. Community Council 2024 is just around the corner. So as always with this community council that they cycle people through it. People get thanked for their service, and then they get new volunteers for the following year. So we're in that cycle right now. So if you're interested in being part of the community council, get into that specialty forum group and help try to be a voice of the community, feel free to do that. We'll have a link for that in the show notes. And Season of Discovery for the Battle of Ashenvale. There's been an issue with the layering. Mostly, I think a lot of it surrounds where, as depending on what hours are, layers start shuttering down because there's lack of activity onto certain servers. So then the layers start collapsing, which then as you're like moving around Ashenvale during that, you'll suddenly like hop layers and you'll be like all by yourself and suddenly surrounded by a bunch of people. Not the most comfy feeling. So apparently they had tried something where they stopped that, but then you just end up like languishing in a dead layer for too long. So they've done some more updates to that. So don't be surprised if you're playing SOD And suddenly, over in Ashton Vale at some wee hour, you end up hopping layers. So just be aware of that. Last but not least, actually, I guess there's one other one, but I can't find the link for it. But the Golden Guardians, the organization shut down as of today.
Wait, the entire org or just WoW?
The entire org.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought they dropped Pika Steam.
So they did drop Pika Steam. That was the first sniff that we got. And then when we looked into it, it looks like they actually dropped their Melee roster back in November. And now the website is completely shut down. Their Twitter account is completely shut down. And on the website is an announcement. Apparently they pulled out of LCS, which I'm assuming
I thought that was a stupid name anyway for an org. Like, who wants to be a guardian? Guardians are lame. They just sit there and guard stuff. Like, they're not a guardian team. That's a team. They're the ones that kill the guardians and go into the kingdom.
You're not wrong.
Golden Gladiators. That's what they.
I was literally about to say that.
That would have been more epic.
Yeah.
So all I know is that the Golden Guardians were a esports subsect of the Golden State Warriors, which is the official or the traditional sports team. And apparently it seems like the funding, the money that they were funneling to the esports has dried up, and so they just decided to collapse the whole organization. So be it. End of an era, which is very unfortunate. And although it seems like a number of people knew about it, nobody knew exactly when. So even those in the know were a little shocked to find out that the accounts were shut down today. So
The move is back.
The move.
The move is back. Until they find another org, whatever that happens to be. Honestly,
I'll sponsor them.
Pardon
They
me?
can join my org. I'll sponsor them. They can join my org.
Which one's your org?
I haven't decided yet. I'll just make it up.
All right.
Just do it. And you can fund it all with your boxing money. Like with
That's
by
right.
competing.
That's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. What was the kitty mustache one?
Those the Meow Meow Kitty Cats.
Meow Meow Kitty Cats. That's it.
Yeah, we were a fierce competitors.
That
Oh no, we were champions actually. I think
you were.
Yeah, good.
And
That was
M2KC or whatever.
yeah. A friend just did that for fun.
I loved it. That was such an awesome name.
Oh yeah, that was good. The social media account for that too on Twitter was so good.
Oh no, I know.
Might
I
have to
followed
hire
it.
them.
You should. And last but not least, and Big you had spoken to this, but the company that made all the bots got DMCA'd there, so they shut down. Although apparently they are working on a workaround, and they will be back. So
I hope not.
They will be back. The bots will. You make it sound like they're like a Star
Terminator.
Wars robot army that's just gonna appear like
Terminator.
in Nagrand Arena.
Right?
Yeah.
they're
Terminator.
just waiting for their spirit of redemption to bring them back, and then they'll resurrect. I honestly,
Class, man. Fix Ellie Shaman so a bot can't play it.
Yeah. Very true. Please do.
yeah, I feel I didn't pay enough attention to it, but I feel like there is like so many different classes that they were able to control that
Not at high ratings.
It's
There's
just
two
that, yeah.
classes. There's Ellie Shaman and Shadow Priest.
fair. I guess one other one. I don't know. This is just like off the cuff. Bobby Kotick last day is going to be the 29th of December. What do you guys think?
Bobby, is he a developer? Who's that?
No,
He's
He was the
he's
CEO
He's the CEO of Blizzard.
of Activision Blizzard King.
Oh,
He wasn't.
what he does.
He wasn't very well liked. So I think a lot
Why
of people
not?
are.
Why?
I think a lot of people didn't like from the early days weren't really happy with the Blizzard and Activision merger. It made WoW maybe seem a bit too like corporate. Plus, there was all that shady stuff that happened at Blizzard and try to hide a lot of it. So
Oh, he's still there after all that? What the hell?
Yeah, he was the CEO.
Oh, sheesh.
Yeah.
So Bobby is gone.
Who's the new CEO?
God
Me.
knows.
Microsoft.
Yeah, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Hire me.
Bill Gates.
That's too funny. All right, on that, I think that's the last little thing. That was a little bit of troll on my end. Shout outs. Who do you want to shout out?
Who?
Who would you like to shout out?
Can be anyone.
Anybody in life.
My dog.
Do it.
That's a good shout out.
Shout
What's
out
your
my
dog's
dog
name?
in Massachusetts. Sonny.
Oh,
He's a good
dog
boy.
name.
He's a very smart dog. He's like a human trapped in a dog's body. Very intelligent. I'm gonna
love
see
it.
him soon, so I'll see you there.
Nice.
Aw.
Yeah, shout out World of Warcraft Arena PvP. Not even just Arena, just PvP. WoW has potential to be one of the greatest esports of all time. If Blizzard is able to see that and do something about it, then they can make it happen. Also, listen to players that's play this game 12 hours a day at the highest level. Also, very wise choice, in my opinion. So yeah, shout out to that. Oh, shout out to you guys also. These are very fun and informative. So I like this stuff. And we need more of this stuff. Also, shout out to the people. I don't know who's listening. Whatever. Shout out to the people doing these community tournaments. People need to remember.
Yes.
Like Barn Door, Void. There's others as well, but AWC, all of these cups, all of this started from D Machine doing these exact same tournaments in the beginning.
Yeah. Very true.
Like he was doing community tournaments every week for like $100, or not every week, however many it was, and a lot of players wouldn't join, like top players. Then eventually they joined, and then once one top team joined, a bunch of other top teams started joining. Like just as long as you have WoW's best interest in mind while you're doing it, then over time it'll most likely pay off. So
I
yeah, I
agree.
appreciate those guys.
I agree. We still need to get together and figure out how we're going to do our esport version of tournaments.
Yep. We've been talking about it for a while, so we should get on it 100%.
Totally.
Shout out to commentators also. Sorry.
No.
Yeah,
worries.
Venruki, Supatis, Zico. All of those guys are insane commentators now. Like I can see them progressively getting better, like over the years. Like they're already really good. Like Supatis is so good. He's like one of the best commentators ever across everything that I've seen. And then he's still improving. So I don't know. It's just cool. It's cool to watch that too.
Agree. He is amazing. Big. Do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, actually, I was going to shout out the Void GG and Barn Door tournaments, because those, I mean, the dueling tournaments have been really fun to watch, even though it seems like there's a few specs that are just like way better than everyone else. But still, I mean, it's always fun to watch duels. And then the Solo Shuffle tournament from Void, shout out to Void for them putting on that tournament, really fun. So that's it.
Hell yeah! Shout out Nick the Rogue, best player in game.
That's right.
That's what he says. I don't really agree, but it's fine.
Yeah. Just say what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, how about you? Any shout outs for you?
I'm actually gonna shout out the guys in Jar's chat for. I think there's a couple of you guys that watched
chat.
some of my stuff. Yeah, I'm
hate
trying
my
to go chat. I'll shout them out. I'll shout out a couple of them because a couple of them said some nice things about me. So I'm gonna take that. I'll take that dub.
Okay. Well,
Awesome.
wish they would do that about me, but it's cool.
Agree to disagree, you know.
Congrats, man! I'm so happy for you. Like,
I'll take it.
Well, I want to do a quick shout out to Ja for doing so well. I asked him to try to keep it a little PG-13 clean, and buddy, I appreciate how well you worked at that, because
yeah, I'm a changed man.
yeah.
Trying to get unbanned after all. So
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, I forgot to ask you. Are you going to be able to compete this year or 2024? Or did they lift it?
I hope so. I want to compete so bad.
Dude, I want to see you
So
compete.
bad.
I want to see you. I will put in my I'll put in
man.
my hat on that. If you need a character reference, I will be it.
All right. Well, I don't know what I need because no one tells me anything. So
I
I
don't
kind of
know
just
either.
I'm just
telling you.
trapped at night in my bed with my own thoughts. Like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, no one tells me anything. So we'll see. I can only speculate for the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see. Well, on that, I think let's end this out. Jah, where can our listeners find you? Where, if anybody wants to see you, if you're streaming or want to get in contact with you, follow you on socials, where would they find you on the interwebs?
Check out my ex. It's Jahmilli. Jahmilli with a V, not Jahmilli. Twitch.com/Jahmillionaire. And then could go Instagram. Jahmillionaire, I think, on Instagram, I guess.
Nice.
So, but primarily for World of Warcraft, it'll be on Twitch and then eventually YouTube. So,
Okay.
All right. Well, that's you, I guess. Big. Can you list off where everybody can find us?
why do you call him Big?
He's Big Moran.
Yeah,
big.
we've just called him
We're
big.
not, we're not
He's-
Moran.
He's
He's big, man.
just
B.I.G.
big. Yeah.
He's
He's not-
notorious.
He's not small, man.
Shit.
He's not small Moran. He's Big Moran.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. He's going to soon to be swole Moran.
I'm kind of getting a bit chubby, but it's fine.
I didn't want to say
Anyway.
anything, man.
Now he's Chubby Moran.
Oh no! I think this might be bullying. Let's stop.
Anyway, you can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
You can also visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so please do head over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about will be in the show notes. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.